Right on. Yes. Touch all. Red, black, and green bay. Years old. Yeah. 59. Yeah. So I got 40 years in that. Yeah. My first experience with protest, demonstration, Philadelphia, organization involved. Yeah. I was 11 years old. Yeah. Shame. Yeah. My lungs. What's that experience? Being started early, coming up under pressure, slowly looking, St. Petersburg, Florida. If I had not had part, would have been dead or in prison. But politics, this brother right here. I'm calling my dad. You better. Saved my life. Uhuru come right. You know, Bob. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Not old enough. All right. Uhuru. Makimba.
I'm Joyce. Also a member of NPM and well, and we stand by the Uhuru League. We will only get stronger. Join the revolution. Join the revolution. We will only grow stronger and undeterred.
You were on trial with the Black and Black Coalition, Communist Vice Chair, during this trial. They talking about the Black and Black Coalition.
Yeah. Well, they always said that part of what he did was interfere with the elections. I know that that was a direct attack on the work of the electoral campaign tools in which we said, do not vote for these no-good right politicians if they don't support us. And we didn't just tell people how to inject a revolutionary electoral politics into the elections. We told people how to remove them. Get it out of office. Right, they don't support it.
I know. Uhuru. Uhuru. Yeah.
To make sure that people get right information and to expose. And the chairman went to that courtroom not but to expose the injustice that's happening.
Right on.
And we intend to stand firmly in support of the Uhuru organization. And it's just good being here with all the freedom fighters on the front.
Right on. Right on. Well, for those who may not know, Sister Pam, as she mentioned, the MOVE organization and the United States government bombed in Philadelphia in 1985, right? Bombed on Osage Avenue, bombed the MOVE organization, killed 11 children, women, and men, and destroyed an entire African community. used C4 explosive that they got from the military. And I don't know if the helicopter was from the military or not. I don't remember that, but the helicopter came from the military and dropped a bomb. And it was an African mayor at the time, Wilson Good. We call him Wilson No Good. And who made the statement afterwards that, yes, I did it and I'd do it again. I think he's come to regret that a little bit. But yeah, so that's, it's really powerful. I'm just appreciative of everybody who has come here and from the various places. And as you know, people have been in and out, coming from various places around the country. What I would like to do is to ask the lawyers, if they can sort of explain, what's happened and where we are, et cetera. And these, as you witness, these are incredible lawyers. These are incredible lawyers. These are incredible lawyers. When have you ever heard in a courthouse in this country, when it was not us saying it, a lawyer steps up and his opening statement, I go, Uhuru. I mean, when have you ever heard that happen before? When have you ever heard a lawyer in this country who would stand up? It probably happened in the 1960s to some extent, but that's a revolutionary. This is what our lawyer is saying, and this is what we stand for. And the incredible work that the professor has done, I call him professor, because he is so, how do you say that word? Professorial, we had this extraordinary team. And so we'd have the professor come up and go step by step, just destroying everything that they've said in terms of legal arguments and what have you. And then I think Addie would come, with the passion and, and of course with the legal stuff as well. And she's, they have to slow Addie down. I love it. They say, slow down. They're trying to defang her. Yeah. And then Comrade Mutaki, comes up, it's just an extraordinary team. You've seen them in action. And I'm just so happy that they're here. And I would like to see if they would say some things to us and answer any questions that we might have and tell us where we are in general terms, and some specific things about that. So, should I bring this mic over? Oh, take the mic over. I'm sorry. I didn't know we all had.
Well, it's really been an honor to represent these people and to get to know them. And I have so much admiration for the work that you all have been doing for 50 years. And I just can't express how it's changed me to be part of this group. We won part of the fight today, and we're going to win the rest in due course. And as the chairman said, this was a paper case, by the way. I've never seen a case like this where there were no witnesses to come to court. He's been here for 50 years in this community. They couldn't find one person to say, yeah, that person, he's not really for the Black people. He's for Russia. Not one person. So they relied on paper, and, it's hard to cross-examine paper, but, we got the agents to admit that there was no direction or control. No direction or control. And that they've been saying the same thing for decades, since before they ever met any Russians. Never before the chairman took a trip to Moscow. So the case is bullshit. And yes. And I just admire the courage that you all have to make this fight, because not a lot of people would do it. And you all never back down. You never stop speaking. You never stop advocating for what you believe in. And in the end, somebody's going to make this right. And thank you. And it's also been an honor to work with such great lawyers. Mutaki and Addie and Angela, it's really been a privilege. And thank you.
So I'll answer the question first as far as where we are, and then I'll give my commentary afterwards. So right now, what the jury came back with what we call a split verdict. And a split verdict because there were 2 counts, so they were found not guilty of working as foreign agents, which is important, and I'll explain why that's important shortly. And he found guilty of conspiracy to be a foreign agent or conspiracy to work as a foreign agent. The count that we were found not guilty of, that had a 15-year maximum sentence. And so that's off the table. The conspiracy count has a 5-year maximum sentence. So it's still we're still looking at up to 5 years in federal prison. So it's still an important case what we're dealing with. Typically in federal court, under the guidelines, there's sometimes a minimum sentence that somebody's looking at. So the judge did say, well, I don't think this is in the guidelines, and he's right. This charge is so rare that it's not even in the sentencing guidelines. And the good thing about that is when we come back for sentencing, the judge can do anything from probation up to 5 years in prison. They do what they call a pre-sentence investigation. In a pre-sentence investigation, they'll look into education, criminal background, family background. They'll, speak to family members, and then they send a report back up to the judge, and then the judge will read that report and use the information in that report as a part of his sentence record, as a part of what he thinks his sentence should be. The federal government, they'll give a recommendation. We'll do a memorandum, probably have letters come from all over the country. So start writing your letters now. And we'll send all of them to the judge and make them read them. And they'll have them just to talk about. And we're not going to focus so much on the guilt or innocence. We fought that part, but just what is the call to action would be to prepare those letters to talk about what this party means to you, and what these 3 people mean to you and mean to this party and mean to this community. So that'll be the call to action, to have people write those letters. And if we got to send 500 letters up to the judge to read, we'll do it. And we'll give them time to do it. And when we come back for sentencing, we got to pack the courtroom again. We won't have everybody speak, but we might choose a few people to speak to the court about what the recommendation would be. And again, we'll deal with the guilt or innocence part of it, but right now it's really the person, the people that's up here, that the judge really have to understand who he's sentencing at this point. Just humanizing all of these people right now. So that'll be the next step. After the sentencing, that's when the appeal process starts. So we can appeal the guilty verdict. You don't appeal, so the judge can't necessarily retry the case, or the appellate court can't retry the case. So it's not a new trial on the appellate level. They can only look at legal issues that have come up. And based on those legal issues, they can reverse it, give us a new trial. If they say, hey, the judge got it wrong with a motion to dismiss, then they can then grant the motion to dismiss and dismiss the charges, which would be interesting because I don't know, I'm not sure how the motion to dismiss, I guess it still applies to the conspiracy charge. But we'll talk about those legal issues. But that's what the appeal will be about. Just really seeing, hey, did the judge do anything wrong legally? But they don't retry the actual facts of the case. And that could take 2 to 3 years, to be honest with you. It'll be some time. They will likely, if there is a probation sentence, they'll likely be done with probation by the time the appeal gets done, to be honest with you. But it's still a fight worth fighting because of the First Amendment implications that's there, and everything. So we'll, keep that process going. So that's the legal process in a nutshell. And people keep asking, well, what are they facing? It's anywhere from time served, which was none, it's anywhere from time served to up to 5 years in prison. The worst implication that we know that we won't be able to avoid is they will now be convicted felons. But we got somebody running for president that's a convicted felon. So, so the sky's the limit still, as far as that goes. So any questions as far as the legal process?
Uhuru, it's kind of a two-part question, but it deals with, in terms of the raids, where all of the files and all of the cell phones and things like that, computers, what happens with that process in terms of recovering? And two, in terms of their passports that they had to turn over, are they able to get that back? And how are they able to move if they want to move outside the country?
So, yeah, so the property won't be able to get returned until the case is closed. So that'll be after all appeals are done. Yeah. As far as the passports go, right now they're still kind of like on pretrial arrest, and so not until after sentencing, till that takes place. Yeah.
I was just wondering because I thought I heard the judge say, maybe I read the jury instructions wrong. I thought he said something like that.
Citizen guidelines. That's when he said, maybe I read the guidelines wrong, but this is something that's not in the sentencing guidelines. So that's what I
Okay.
was just referring to. This particular charge is not one that they typically, and so in the sentencing guidelines, typically there'll be a charge. All of the criminal offenses will have a certain level appointed to them. So like drug cases, there'll be a certain level, and then based on that level, it fits somewhere on the guideline. In this case, doesn't even have that for them to put into the guideline. So is that an issue, or is that something that should be looked into? I don't quite understand. No, it's just it's okay. They prepare the guidelines based off of like cases they typically see, and these are honestly that was one of the difficult parts about like the legal argument, is that we didn't have that much precedent dealing with these, so they don't have much precedent dealing with what's a fair sentence based off the guidelines. So it's good, it's in our favor because it does not start us somewhere where we're looking at any kind of like minimum sentence. We're just, because a lot of times with those, depending on the case, it can have a certain level, which will be a recommendation to the judge to a minimum sentence, and we don't have that in this case. Yeah, if you come up with the mic. Yeah.
Work under the direction and control.
I again want to really thank the legal team and salute the Uhuru Three. This mic right here? Okay. I had a question. I thought I heard the judge also say that maybe they were confused, and I thought he was talking about the jury based on the way they did the 2 counts. So is that something that can be part of the appeal? Like the fact that they gave maybe the jury instructions, or the
I'm not sure what he was referring to when he said that, and I thought that was still about the sentencing guidelines. I think he said maybe he was confused, or maybe he got it wrong. Okay. And honestly, it is what we call an inconsistent verdict. Yeah. And because in order to have a conspiracy, you have to conspire to commit a specific crime. Yeah. And the allegations were they were conspiring to be foreign agents. Well, the conspiracy was for these 3 to be, or one of the 3 to be a foreign agent. So the fact that they are not foreign agents, but they conspired to do it, is kind of inconsistent. I think the government did a good job of confusing the jury by just like partnership, agreement, allies. That's a conspiracy. So I think they kind of just like hung on to that. And in being honest, when you look at the words that were used, sow discord, and they have their agenda, we have ours. I think that's what the jury probably like kind of hung on to as well, and maybe felt uncomfortable about those conversations and wanted something to come out of it. If I can, I mean, that's just me guessing, but that's the partnership part of it, I think, was what led to the conspiracy.
So that could be something to appeal on.
They can't well, we can appeal it as an inconsistent verdict. So the appellate court could look at it and say, well, if they didn't get this, they can't get that. But I think as long as there are facts there that can lead to that conclusion, then the appellate court will leave it alone. Like, and typically, that's why they only look at the legal arguments, because typically appellate courts don't want to get in the way of what a jury says, because they want to like kind of, that the jury is so precious that they don't want to get in the way with what a jury says typically.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let me answer a question. Isn't some of these recent cases, if I remember, like with the particularly the Trump
Mhm.
guys and stuff that dealt with in fact the case of the Proud Boys and stuff, isn't there a case law that says something about guys who were like they were to be agents or so, and they said that these guys weren't foreign agents? I mean, the reasoning behind this case doesn't seem to be supported by recent developments in case law. Maybe
It's not really case law at this
Uh,
point. Like
right.
case law is usually what the appellate court says.
yeah, right. That's what
But
I'm
with
saying.
other like trial cases
Right.
happening in this kind of subject, then it's creating case law.
Right.
So those cases will go on appeal, and then based off of whatever discussions the appellate court have in
Right.
those cases, then it could develop case law. The same with this case. This case will create case law. As far as what is this First Amendment? Is it, the foreign agent, all the things we objected to, this will become kind of precedent.
I just
moving
want to make
forward.
my only comment. This doesn't remind me of the Ravonia
Mhm.
trial.
Mhm.
I mean, the way the whole thing sets up,
Mhm.
of just being able to speak and
Mhm.
fix your mind.
Mm.
If this doesn't this is like the American
Mm.
version of the Ravonia,
Yeah.
really. And I think people need to, it comes right down on point.
Mm.
And I think the judge in this case was kind of like perplexed.
Mm.
But this is my opinion from
Yeah.
his way his feelings were. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
True. Thank you, everyone. The legal team, just salute your work. I think this is similar to what others were saying, but I still just like want to hear it again. People were messaging me after like, what do they conspiring guilty of what? And it's like, what, even how the jury was maybe confused. Like, if you could just say it one more time for me, like, so not guilty of working for the Russian government,
Right.
but guilty of conspiring to work with the Russian. Is it supposed to be this like blurry thing they're trying to
It's
do?
not like, so the specific charge was there's a conspiracy for these three to work as foreign agents for the Russian government. So that was the bigger conspiracy. And then they're saying that the conspiracy was completed because they worked as foreign agents for the Russian government. So they're pretty much saying that it wasn't complete because they were not foreign agents, but they at least conspired to do so.
Yeah. 7 years.
Mhm. That's what you get from it, which is still the strange part about it.
I mean, conspiracy charges, my experience is juries don't really understand them. And I think that's why the government likes them so much. And if anyone wants to take a look at the jury instruction that the jury had on the conspiracy, I don't understand it. I don't think any of the lawyers understand it. And it's so confusing that I think it allowed the jury to compromise and say, well, and it allowed the prosecutors to stand up, as Mutaki said, and say, well, all they have to do is have an agreement. All they have to do is work together. All they have to do is have a partnership. And that's not the law, because the underlying charge requires that they are under direction, that they have agreed to be under direction and control of Russia. So it doesn't make sense. But and the other thing I'd just say about the inconsistent verdicts, the law isn't, the court is probably going to say, well, you can't reverse it just because it's inconsistent, but that they can look at that and they can look at the misleading nature of what the government presented and told them and say, well, the split verdict, the inconsistent verdict sort of supports what the defendants are arguing, that this was really misleading. And so, I feel pretty confident. And the First Amendment issues are going to be, it's an issue of first impression. A lot of people are going to take a look at this case and the appellate work. So I think that's going to be a really important argument to make, because can you be, the judge made a finding that, well, if you're acting for, if a foreign government asks you to say this, or if you have a radio station and you put on Russian voices, or if you have a newspaper and you allow Russian people to speak, that's an action, that's not speech. And the Supreme Court has has never held that. And there's case law that suggests the opposite, that all you're supposed to look at is the content of the speech, not whether you have a relationship with a Russian. So I think this is going to be really important appeal, and I look forward to seeing. I look forward to winning this. Hopefully at the 11th Circuit, but if not, the next highest court. So.
Any foreign government, any foreign, that's what the statute is.
Right.
Any foreign government.
So you're talking about Canada too, any foreign government. So if I call, any foreign government, like I know, and call over to Windsor, Ontario. That's for any foreign government.
If you work on behalf of any foreign government, it fits within that statute. They can choose which foreign government. I mean, I think that's one thing that we realize. I think we know that the Israeli government asks people to say certain things, send certain messages, but I don't think we would ever see a prosecution for somebody working with the Israeli government, or another government friendly to the United States. They have the discretion to do so, but I don't think we will ever see that. And that goes to what I was saying in my closing argument, that this case is about Russia and America, and we were caught in the middle of that fight. And again, like it's China and America. So now we're seeing indictments that involves China, people that have relationships or conversations with people from China. But I want to give other people the opportunity to speak. Yeah, afterwards. Yeah.
It's how you protect yourselves and we protect you if you keep on doing what you're doing. Even the tiniest conviction is a conviction, right? Even if they don't serve time.
Yeah.
But if they keep doing what they're doing, are they in jeopardy?
I think no. I mean, I think one thing this win says is that they're on the right side, and we had 12 people from this community that probably don't agree with most of the stuff that they heard, but understood their right to do it. One, and their sovereignty in doing so, that they were doing it on their own behalf for African people. So I think that sends a message to the government that these political prosecutions probably won't work. I think we got to be careful who we talk to and who we email and who we communicate with. But I think that would be the caution. Let's work with folks we know, but not shut up. Like I don't think that's a cautionary tale at all. Yeah, nah. I think we'll always be in jeopardy when we do the right thing.
Yeah.
Break jeopardy when we don't. True. For everyone, my name is Amanda. I'm the vice chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. I'm also Jesse Neville's wife. And and I just want to say how proud I am of all of you, everybody on this table, now that the full legal team is here, except for Tom, of course, Tom Inskeep. I'm so proud, you are all fierce fighters, and I'm just really honored to be on the same side as you, and just appreciate you, Chairman, of course. My question specifically is, I've heard of interviewing jurors afterwards. Is that only with a hung jury, or is that with after this situation where there was a decision made?
You can, but we're not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a specific order that we can't, like, even, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Uhuru, my name is Zona Zanea Shatella, and I'm chairman's wife.
Yes, ma'am.
But my question is for the lawyers.
Mm.
I know the day and a half of deliberation was like, I mean, I was like on pins and needles.
Mm.
And you received, I think, 3 or 4 questions
Mm.
from the jury.
Mm.
Can you expound on those, especially the one around being anonymous?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
keeping them being anonymous.
Yeah, that follows up on the previous question. So yesterday at 5, we got the note, and the jury was asking if their records could be sealed, because they were concerned that they were just concerned for their safety, but they said that it started from the very beginning when they found out what the trial was about. And then in the trial, they heard other information came out during the trial that got them concerned as well. So that was the one note. The second note, well, the first note that we got, they wanted a copy of the jury instructions, the verdict form, and the prosecutor's PowerPoint presentation about the overt acts, which had all of us worried, to be honest with you. And then they asked, what was it? It was one today. Yes,
Oh,
the
yeah,
4
yeah,
verse 7. Yeah. So then, today they asked whether the conspiracy dealt with all 4 defendants or just seven defendants. Because the indictment still has the Russians on it. So on the indictment is us 3 along with the three Russians. Well, and Romaine. Yeah. So it's the 4 of us who was on trial along with 3 of the Russians. And so they wanted to make sure that it only they only had to discuss the 4 of us and not the Russians as well. We dealt with the anonymous request. The judge entered an order saying that all of the jury's information would be private and it can only be released under the order of the court. And it's not something that's typical. Typically, you could go look at the addresses of jurors and who they are and what their names are. But because they requested it, the judge gave it to them. Yeah. Which is, again, that we thought that was a bad sign.
Yeah.
But it was just a concern. Yeah.
Another concern that I had is that they sent a note needing another form, verdict form for me.
What did the note say? It said the note said that they had made a mistake on Omali Yashatella, and could they have another verdict form for him?
Said, damn, they want to
We were
add
like,
something.
Yeah, we didn't share that.
Yeah.
We just sat down. No, that's
Yeah,
that's what it was.
that was a little,
It was a little nerve wracking.
yeah, a little bit.
Got me. I did because I felt like they should be treated like any other jury, that they shouldn't get any special treatment. But then the judge came back and basically explained that because they had asked for it, that was pretty much standard protocol. If they ask for it, he's gonna give it.
Yeah,
But I tried to just,
yeah.
throw my 2 cents in that I wanted to make sure that we were being treated like everyone else. This wasn't
Yeah.
some special consideration that they were getting for this particular case.
Good. Anything else for the lawyers?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's a line.
Just one question.
Direct and control me.
Yeah,
They don't
good
want-
luck, good luck.
Partnership and agreement. I understand that I can pick it up.
Yeah.
I understand that there was no evidence of conspiracy, so let me be clear here. The one that they're supposed to be guilty under, was there any evidence presented proving that?
The one we're supposed to be guilty of, what? Is there any evidence proving
Right,
that?
because I understand I know that the state did not present any evidence proving anything on conspiracy. Were there by any chance any evidence at all that they presented?
The verdict was that we were guilty of conspiracy, but not guilty of acting as a foreign agent.
Yeah.
And I think it was confusing. I think the jury instructions were confusing to the jury. I think that if they had gotten it accurate, we would have been not guilty on both.
Yeah.
Because to find we were not guilty of acting as a foreign agent and then turn around and say we were conspiring to act as a foreign agent.
It's just a reverse of
Yeah.
what,
Correct.
then
correct.
that's why I was saying, if no evidence was presented at one, as one, then I'm assuming no evidence was, so
I
how do
was
you make a
wondering-
verdict?
Yeah.
How do you make a
What
decision
happens is
without
we can do
evidence?
we can renew our judgment of acquittal on that grounds.
That was my question.
Mhm.
Is that
On the
grounds for-
conspiracy, we can do that, and then we also will file an appeal on that as well.
Thank you very much.
I was also wondering, when you have all these FBI agents and that's all they had as witnesses, agents, and then the so-called experts who didn't know how much money they made. And you get these witnesses, these FBI agents to say, no, there was no interference, there was no, I mean, it seems to me like some kind of appeal based on the judge having the ability, or some kind of ruling, that the prosecutor's case was negated by their own witnesses. And I know I'm not seeing this in some kind of legalese, but it seems to me, even the basis of calling for an acquittal, based on the fact that the prosecution's own witnesses, experts from the FBI, the one who heads it, all of them said we didn't do anything. So, yeah.
So we raised those issues in our judgments for acquittal during the trial, and we also raised a number of motions in limine to prevent a lot of that testimony from coming in,
Yeah.
a lot of that evidence from coming in. And when we do file the appeal, they'll go through each motion that we filed, the ruling, the law. It'll go through each objection that we made. I don't know if you noticed, but I kept objecting at times. You have to renew your objections and keep objecting. Otherwise,
Yeah.
sometimes they say you gave up your right for that to be an issue. So we tried to do that as well, balancing it with how the jury may react. Is always a little tricky, but ultimately they'll go through every objection that we made, all the issues that we raised, and the appellate courts and the appellate lawyers will go through each of those, and all of those issues will be sorted out on appeal. That's the process.
Uhuru, I have here some questions and some comments from those who are on the Burning Spirit TV YouTube. We're live right now, and some of it, some of the comments are pretty funny, and some are saying this is absolutely ridiculous. Someone said this is a Minority Report, which was also a ridiculous movie. Someone said, Uhuru, keep up the good fight. Another said, well, Kamala, you got some pardoning to do, madam. But we had a question from John McCarthy, and as well as a question from the Malcolm X Center, WMXP Community Radio. Sophia, okay. Oh, Afia, okay. John McCarthy asked, is the fact that the only African juror was removed a basis for appeal? And do we suspect foul play?
It is something, and the judge even brought it up today. We can raise the issue for an appeal. It'll be one of, it wouldn't be first impression, but I think it'll be an interesting issue. And so what happened, for those who don't know, we picked 18 jurors. 6 of those jurors were alternates. One of the 12 that we had on the jury initially was one African woman, and she showed up late Monday of this week? Yeah, after a week, she showed up late. She didn't show up to the afternoon, and we don't know what happened at all. But she did end up coming and kind of pranced in like she was on time. But at that point, the judge had removed her already from the jury. And so then it goes down to the 6 that are alternates. And I was asking, and so of those 6 that were alternates, only one of the 6 were Black. So I asked the judge to put the Black person on as in place of the Black woman who came off. And so the alternates go in order as well. And so the Black guy, he was actually number 5 of 6 of the alternates. So they just had to go in order. And so they couldn't skip over to him. But my argument to the judge was that we need to have a cross-section of the community. Unfortunately, the courts have interpreted cross-section of the communities just as ordinary citizens. So race and gender doesn't come into that analysis in the court's opinions typically.
Unless you're trying to show division among the,
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so in this instance, it might be something unique to the court to say, like, look, you know, with the issues in this case, and you at least had an option to bring somebody in. And the fact that out of 80 jurors that they brought in, it was 3 Black people out of 80 jurors that they brought in, which is wow. And that's what, 6 counties, I think, over 6 counties, 80 jurors, 3 Black people. There were quite a number of Hispanic people on there. So we did have some minorities on the jury, but only 3 out of 80 and 2 made it to the 18. And no matter how we did our strikes and everything, we just couldn't get to that second guy that would be on there.
Uhuru, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say, just say one more thing about the jury, and actually Addie and Mutaki will understand this better than me, but my experience I'm from Chicago. Federal juries are generally much more pro-prosecution than a state jury. So if I have a murder trial in west side of Chicago, I'm going to get a great jury because I'm going to have a lot of people that don't trust the police. And then when you have a federal jury, they bring in people from small towns all over Illinois and here Florida. It's a whole middle district of Florida. So you get a lot of people that have much more trust, small town people that have much more trust for the government. And also you get, as Mutaki said, you don't really get a fair cross-section because we're from this community. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but.
I agree 100% with what Taki and Len just said, but I just want to remind us that considering all of those things, we still won. So, we still won. We still proved that nobody here was acting as an agent of the foreign government.
Yep.
So regardless of who the jury was, who they weren't, they got it right.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was an observation that I was making. I mean, you know, I'm sorry that very poor sister, you know, the one with flip-flops who works as a damn nurse's aide, which means she takes all the piss and stuff, you know, out. And, you know, one of the problems that we have when we do work in our communities, just in terms of government and employers being willing to hire African people because all of the jobs are out of this community. There's no economic development. That's what we're dealing with. So people can work in their own community. So they have to go someplace to work. And poor people don't have transportation. There is no public transportation, so to speak of. And so people are always late, always being fired and stuff like that. That's just the way it works. And I've had to disrupt on some occasions some of these workforce programs where the emphasis is on really teaching Black people how to be on time, you know, and if public transportation on time, how the hell are they going to be on time? You know, this is the kind of issue that we're confronted with all the time. So you have Africans with reputations of being late. You've heard it before. This is bad. Africans are bad employees because they're always late. And that's tied to the fact that all of the economy is outside of our communities and we don't have access to a capacity to get there. So I just thought that was significant. And then the sister did show up as Attorney Mutaki said, you know, and she was late, but she was there, you know what I mean? And if we've gone all this time, you know, it seemed to me that we could have even taken a break, you know, go, you know, something and give it a shot. But a real court dealing with peers would have understood that.
Yeah.
That's the whole question of dealing with peers, you know, would have understood that reality. And it's not like the judge himself is ignorant of who we are, because even in the beginning of this process, when there was need to sort of define us. And people said like Black Lives Matter or something. And the judge said, well, here they're mostly known as the Uhurus. People may be more familiar with them as the Uhurus. And I was struck by that, Anyway, I just wanted to make those comments about that sister. And then the other thing related to that, so we didn't get an African, but I was really, 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 really impressed by that jury being able to say that Black people have agency. That's what they said, that Black people have agency, that we have thoughts, we have plans, we have discussions, et cetera, and all the stuff they showed what we're supposed to be working for the Russians, and they brought in what was supposed to be evidence of that, and it didn't work. And people are able to say, and off what they saw, they got our newspapers. We got that in. We got into it, tax strategy paper that I wrote in 1970 something. We got that in. And so I just think the jury, I'm struck by that. I mean, here in the same district that we are talking about right here, those people went in there and were able to recognize the validity of ourselves as a movement, which is what happened in that courtroom today. And I just, want to say that, and really tremendous respect I have for these lawyers here. I don't even like the term, but and there's a lawyer that you don't see much, Angela Rayner here. And she has an amazing 3-year-old daughter. She's 3, isn't she? 2-year-old daughter, that's even better, who performs on a regular basis on the coffee table, right? At her house, but you don't see her much, but she, she's in the ground in the most serious kind of way, pulling stuff up. And most of the time when we look befuddled, we look to help clarify stuff for us. I just wanted to, make those comments.
Uhuru. Yeah, the last question is from Ifia. Is their bail continued during appeal? Uhuru.
Oh.
Yes.
Possibly. So they do what they so after sentencing, if like worst case scenario, the judge puts some type of imprisonment on the sentence, then we can ask for what we call an appeal bond, and those aren't granted easily. And Lynn and I were talking about it, but because you usually have to show that you have just some real arguments for appeal and not just appealing just to appeal. And I think in this case, we have some really good arguments for an appeal. So we'll have a great argument to the judge if he did that to say, hey, can we do an appeal bond to wait until the case is completely over with. So that's a possibility. It's not guaranteed, but it's a possibility. It's a strong possibility.
But I've had a situation where I've been convicted. This was in state court, and the lawyer, first of all, filed a notice of appeal and used that as the basis for being able to file the appeal. And we were turned down, and the lawyer went back to argue to a higher court. And there is some case law that's there, that even though it had been denied, that the lawyer was able to make an argument. And part of it, I think, had to do with the probability, likelihood of success in appeal,
Uhuru. First, I just want to really salute the courageous Uhuru 3 on this tremendous victory, and really salute the lawyers, that really fought and accurately represented, the voice of the Uhuru movement publicly, which is so important, as the chairman has said. And, we've said, and the party, Chairman O'Malley has said, this is a precedented case, an unprecedented case. This is like the canary in the coal mine. And, what I wanted to know, and I don't know if you can speak on this, but, and Chairman has been summing up, this is a political case, it's a political trial, and we're seeing all these political trials going on right now. And is it possible to speak about how this
case and this victory is going to impact on things like all the people from Russia Today that were charged, and Scott Ritter and the students that were demonstrating in support of the Palestinians, and Nancy Pelosi said, well, let's charge them as Russian agents. You know, can we talk about how this is going to open that up? You know, so this struggle is so much bigger than just the Uhuru 3. It really can change the whole conditions in the country.
And before I get into Lynn, I think one thing that it shows that, you know, to have the courage to go against the federal government. I think up until now, a lot of people were just taking pleas. They'll get charged and then they'll take a plea. So one, I think to actually see that you can go up against them and then you can win. One of the things that Mark O'Brien said, that was the attorney for Romaine, he said that, you know, this case was like a cotton candy. You know, it's all fluffy and pretty and looks great, but when you bite into it, it's nothing. And that's what we saw in this case. You know, like it looked bad and it sound bad because they wanted to appear that way in their press statements, but once we started digging into it, it was nothing there. And so I'm hoping that other people who are charged with these same charges will have the courage to fight, because it means a lot when it comes down to the First Amendment. It means a lot when it comes down to fighting for liberation, whether it's African liberation or Palestinian liberation or whoever it is, just our ability to fight in that sense. It's a trial case, so it doesn't really set like precedents like an appellate case would. But I think like the news of it and people seeing it and the more and more it happens would be like, hey, we got to fight this because it really goes against the stuff, you know, the things that we're fighting for and what we stand for.
I would just add that this is the first case I've ever seen, and I've done a lot of research on this, where the defendants are charged with a federal crime where all of the acts are either making a speech, doing a protest, publishing an article, or holding a rally. So I think, you know, what you say is correct. This is a very important case, and I think it's very clean, the issue, because you all aren't charged with sending some sensitive material to Russia. You all aren't charged with espionage. You all are charged with making speeches and protests. It's a very clean issue for the appellate court to sink its teeth in. And so I agree that this is an important precedent-setting case.
The question was, the use on two. Give us a second, we'll take care of her first.
Thank
Hear from Angela.
So I agree with what everyone said, and I mean, I think it's a great victory, and I'm really proud of the way everyone handled this case. And I'm incredibly glad to be involved in the case and to meet everyone. I mean, I gotta say my favorite part is we got the FBI agent to admit that the Department of Justice lied. That's amazing.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Ruth with PSL, and I truly want to congratulate you in this courageous fight that you took on against the U.S. empire, because that's actually what we are fighting right here. And thank you for that. We know that they are trying to set precedent, and they're literally criminalizing community organizing in a way to intimidate people, because they see how people continue to wake up every day and you know, realize not only the contradictions of capitalism, but also realizing how our government is actually the problem. And because you are outspoken against that, against U.S. Colonialism and imperialism, they are looking to way to intimidate the people and sit us down and tell us to be quiet. But we know that we won't do that. One question that I have is, given that came out, what you just mentioned, where the FBI agent straight up admitted that they have zero evidence regarding election interference, even when challenged as to why you put it in the press release if you knew you had no evidence? You know, there was a blatant, you know, we did it, you know, what can I do type of attitude now. But my question is there grounds for like a lawsuit for defamation or anything like that? And because I think I'm just kind of thinking of ways that we can bring down to the people how the FBI lies on a regular basis, you know, because this really proves it. Like you proved it in court out of their own mouths that they just lie and create, you know, manufacture things that they say. So is there an opportunity for that and, you know, other ways that we can highlight that part? Because that was important. Thank you.
I think that's important too. And one thing that's true. The media reported on this. Yeah. We've seen instances where the colonial media would have headlines and things that based on just what the government has said. It's like in foreign countries where they fighting against the Vietnamese or any other people. They go to the State Department or they go to the court and get their press release and then treat it as news. And that's what the bourgeois media, the colonial media have been doing up to now. And it seems to me the question that was just raised in terms of being able to say it, that on the stand after swearing to tell the truth, with the possible charge of perjury, that the FBI stated that they lied, that they have nothing, et cetera, et cetera. And even in putting together that press release that most of the media, colonial media here and other places use as the basis of reporting on this, when asked, why did it say that? I didn't write it. Well, you were there. You know, we helped to write what the indictment was. This stuff needs to be put. We need to talk to the local bourgeois and national bourgeois media that treats everything that comes from the government. What happened to the so-called fifth estate? You know, is the fifth or fourth estate, whatever the hell it is, but the media, we're told, stands between the people and the government. The media is the thing that keeps the government honest, but that's not the way it's working. And when I was a younger person, I was one time, you know, we are taught that for the media, a story of a dog biting a man, that's no story. But a man biting a dog, now that's a story. So what is happening is that the media will report on the dog biting a man. When they talk about the government said this, the government did this, the government, that's the story. But when you talk about what really happens, which is the man biting the dog, you get nothing. You treat it as nothing. So I think that's really important. I think we have to call the bourgeois media up on that. Of course, the people are doing that on a regular basis too. That's why you see fewer and fewer of them existing today, declining in their influence and people going to other places to get information. Yeah.
I want to just unite with the flimsy nature of this conspiracy charge and this whole idea of agreement to commit a crime, but there was never came out any crime that was committed. And they put up 25 so-called acts, criminal acts, but we were found not guilty of any of the criminal acts.
Yeah.
Or committing any of that. So just want to unite with how inconsistent and nonsensical this split decision is. But also I want to talk, and Chairman, speak to the intimidation factor of what this trial was actually about. To intimidate the Black community, not seek outside international assistance. Yeah. That we have to continue to fight within this shrinking civil rights box that we have no power in. And anytime we go outside of America and seek friends, we're going to be charged with some type of bogus crime. Yeah. And so this case, this verdict, is a victory. Yes. Over we can't be intimidated. Yes. And we're going to continue to seek foreign friends to help us push our issue forward. Uhuru.
Uhuru. And I want to say it's even a little more than that even, because they didn't have to use grenades. They cordoned off an entire African neighborhoods. They used the police to call Comrade Akile when she was one of the unindicted four, the St. Petersburg police to call her and tell her that her car was being broken into and she should come outside. And when she comes outside, FBI agents come from everywhere. and the whole community in St. Louis when they came, the St. Louis Police Department facilitated. They blocked off the street. They were sitting on our neighbor's porch. They put tape over the doorbell video of the neighbor's porch. They used battering rams. The lady who lived behind us right here in St. Petersburg, she said she didn't know what the hell was going on. FBI agents all over the place. People trying to come to their own houses. Black people were had to show ID to come there and to leave their houses. So this is the thing that happened. I mean, the intimidation. A little brother who stayed across the street from us in St. Petersburg, when I asked him, you know, I was asking the father, did anybody get any videos of what was going on? He said his 16-year-old son, this is 5 o'clock in the morning here, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning here. He said the 16-year-old son comes trembling to him and said, Dad, they come to get me. You understand? Because they're so common. This is so common in the African community, and they block off everything, and it's to terrorize the African. What about burning churches? None of this got into the discussion. The churches that we had under contract to put economic development programs right across the street from my house in St. Louis, it mysteriously burned. What about a man pulling up in a car right outside this building here, goes into his trunk in broad daylight, takes out a military-grade flamethrower and sets that flag there on fire? What about and that was something like 27 days before they came to get us. And I'm convinced it was something like a dry run. I really am, because the last time they attacked this building, the people brought a helicopter down. And they came 300 strong then. And I think they wanted to see what kind of response and what we were prepared to do. And we just happened to be able to get videos of the guy's tags and stuff like that, which made it necessary for them to talk to him. And then they didn't say, well, we can't charge him with arson. And said that it was somebody who passed this young African, 20 years old, they said, just passes this place regularly, and he sees that ugly red, black, and green flag, and he hates socialists. And so I just happened to have a flamethrower in my trunk. You know, no, they didn't. No, I mean, this is the kind of stuff what about the banks? The banks we've done business with for more than 20 years, shut us down and tried to make it impossible for us to have a place to store the resources that we need for these community development projects. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we are talking about. And it had nothing to do with just working for the Russians. What the hell does getting our fiscal sponsors so that we can remain transparent in terms of collecting money? What the hell does getting our fiscal sponsors to drop us have to do with Russians? You know, it was just nonsense. I mean, this kind of stuff, yeah.
So we get on board and then we can give our commentary we need.
Okay. Right on. Yeah, Penny, get fast.
Say really quickly, first of all, I do want to salute these incredible lawyers and to say what a powerful, it was really I felt so much confidence and, you know, and just proud of this legal team. And I want to say that Chairman O'Malley Shatella is my leadership. He is our leadership. And that just the incredible, brilliant political understanding of this trial and the history of it and what historically this government has done to African people over and over for hundreds of years, literally, every time African people stand up. And I just salute the African People's Socialist Party, the courage of it, every fight that the chairman has taken on. I can only say, if you want to fight, and I say this to the US government, the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman O'Malley should tell you you're getting in the ring with Muhammad Ali. And there's nothing you can do, because what the party does, what the chairman does, is take even something that would be a defeat and turns it into a victory, because it's based in the support of the people. And so we have won. I salute Deputy Chair. I want to say too that part of what this case was trying to do was to destroy white solidarity with the African liberation movement. And that they use these terms that we have fought for under the leadership of the chairman and the party for almost 50 years in the white community, talking about reparations and the genocide of African people. Yeah. And that's all we talk about. That's what we write books about. That's what we have forums about in one way or another, and how that comes down, and the question of colonialism. But I think it was Attorney Akbar said it, it's too late. You can't, you're not going to destroy this by arresting or doing something to the chairman, because it is out there. So I just, really want to salute all of the people from the white community who have been here, who are members. If you're not a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, you need to be a member of USM. And it is growing. We are winning. And it is really powerful as a white person to understand the history of what we have done, the lynching, the terror, the genocide that we have participated in. And now we can be on the winning side under the leadership of the African Liberation Movement. And every victory that the African Liberation Movement has ever won was for everyone. It benefited everyone. This is in our truest interest to stand on this side. And I salute all the comrades from the Uhuru Solidarity Movement who are here.
Uhuru, well, Uhuru, I want to first salute our leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, and of course, Comrade Penny and Comrade Jesse, and just how incredible, and how we're not demoralized, we're it's just really exciting, and people are wanting to join in and come to us, and that's been the case for the last 2 years. Yeah. And just how powerful that's been, but just the stance that you all represent when you're in it, you are in it, and but I mean, just real disciplined and just strong and firm, and then of course just all of the party's history and everything just coming, like you said, Chairman. I mean, they've never, when has this stuff been dealt with in court? They're talking about stolen indigenous land, talking about African people and the struggle for, reparations, genocide, and all of these things. I mean, that was talked about in federal court, and they had to deal with that. And like you said, Chairman, their expectation of a jury being afraid of Russia didn't work. Yeah. It was defeated. That was defeated by this incredible team. And also really salute the lawyers. Just cannot say enough how incredible. I was only able to attend the last day of the closing arguments. So a lot of the just the real relentless, I didn't get to see that. And I'm so upset about that. But just those last closing arguments by all of you, I mean, was so powerful and deeply moving. And I just really, really want to salute all of you and appreciate everything. And again, knowing that this fight is not over. And so I guess it's not really a question, but wanted to, I think, Chairman, you were saying before we started summing up, I think it'll be really important, just unite with, keep reinforcing how they came at us, because how the violence, the raids, and you were just talking about that, and just continuing to emphasize, this is how the government came at this organization. And, here's this verdict, and here they had nothing, but this is how they come at us. And then, I was just thinking about this whole concept of sowing division, but that jury had to look out at a packed courtroom full of people across the political spectrum, who were willing to be here to fly from all parts, of this country to stand with this movement. And there's nothing divisionary about that. That is uniting people. And, so just the impact that had. And then for our audience, just for them to know the name of these incredible attorneys, if you could just identify, just say who you are, say where you came from, so the world can know the names behind these incredible attorneys. Uhuru.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Addie Griffin. I represent the chairman, Omali Ashtela. With our bulletproof defense.
Bulletproof.
I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin, from the east side. And I've practiced and lived in West Palm Beach, Florida for over 20 years now. So I'm a Floridian, I guess, but I claim Madison, Wisconsin.
Hello, I'm Mutaki Akbar. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. I been practicing. This is my 20th year practicing. Addie and I actually started at the public defender's office at West Palm Beach together. So we've been trying cases. Well, we started trying cases together about 20 years ago, and it's really just a huge coincidence that we ended up on this case together to fight this case. My firm is called Akbar Thomas in Tallahassee, and we do criminal defense and personal injury. And I think this will be my last time on the mic. So I just want to again congratulate you all, the Uhuru 3, on this victory today, and I really do see it as a victory. And I appreciate you all trusting me in this fight. It's been 2 years, I think, since I first got the call. I was joking when I was getting this email, like, hey, this is trial about Russian agents and blah, blah, blah. I was like, who are these people and what are you talking about? And I ignored it for a while. And then eventually Chimaranga like drugged me in and say, look, this is what's going on. And, reading about it, there's this fear about Russia. And even talking to people close to me about it, it's like, I don't know if this is the case that you want to take on. And my response to them is that if I can't fight this case, then what's the worth of my law degree? Like, this is the type of case that I went to law school for. And that's the passion that you saw for the last week and a half. Because I believe in this case from day one. I believe in this movement. And what it really took for me was when we showed the video of the Impedum tour, the African Charged Genocide tour, with those sisters sitting around in a circle talking. Yeah. And the sister from Chicago had no idea who African People's Socialist Party was, had no idea who Impedum was. And at the end of the conversation, she was just so excited about having the conversation about this organization being there in Chicago, about confronting the United Nations, about genocide. And we got to look at the context of when this was going on. Like, this was in the middle of Black men dying almost every day at the hands of police. And this was like the peak, it was peaking of this social revolution of people really realizing we've always known that was here. Like, this organization always known that we've been attacked, from, not only within, but from without. Yeah. And so this petition, this encampment, she was excited about it in the midst of all this evil that was going on around in our communities. Yeah. And she saw hope just by these sisters being there from this tour. And when I looked over at the chairman after that video went off, he was teared up. He was wiping away those tears because I think he saw what this movement was all about just in that 10-minute conversation with those sisters. And he also saw what this government was trying to do to the movement just from that conversation. And my father is 80 years old. And so when I looked over at the chairman, and my father's been doing this work as well. And so when I looked over at the chairman, I saw my father. I literally did. And very rarely have I seen my father cry. But I have. And I would not have ever imagined seeing the chairman shed a tear because he's such a warrior. And warriors rarely shed tears. But that was what I needed. That's what I needed to see, because it was the passion that he had for this organization and what this organization means. And it was the reality that they were trying to take this away from him. They were trying to take away the ability for us to speak for ourselves, the ability for us to get in a van and go to Chicago, go to New York, go to DC, go to Jackson, Mississippi, and speak about the genocide of Black men, and to speak out about it and to fight against it as one voice. And that's what this was about. And so when I got up in the closing argument, the vision of the chairman, wiping away those tears, the vision of a warrior, a revolutionary, a general, wiping away those tears in the reality of what was going on. I knew we couldn't walk out of there with the world thinking that we don't have a voice for ourselves, that we don't have the ability to speak for ourselves, that somebody else from Rush Asia, wherever it is, Eurasia, or wherever it is going to dictate and tell us what we can do, what we can think, how we can fight. In the midst of all of that, it was no way that we could walk away with anybody thinking that. And that's what the fight was about. And so I applaud you all too, because it meant a lot for that jury to look out and see that this is not three individuals fighting for their freedom. This was three members of an army, you know, three soldiers with their lieutenant, with their chief. This was a tribe, this was a village that looked like what the world looks like. Exactly. And that was important. That looked like what that jury looked like, and that was important. And so we answered the question of who we are. We answered the question of who we are about, what we are about. And when we were able to say, and I thought it was important to start the conversation with Uhuru. I thought it was important to say that because that is who we are. We're not running from that. We're not running from a Swahili word. We're not running from that we're about freedom. We're not running from the work that we're doing. I thought it was important to start with that. And I thought it was important to end with the work that we do. So we showed that video at the end of it. And we not only showed the video from the end of it, we pointed out the fact that we build basketball courts in the middle of a neighborhood that was dilapidated for years when we talk about benign neglect. We talked about the doula workshops. We talked about the restaurants. We talked about the furniture stores. We talked about the gym. We talked about giving food to people who can't afford to have food. We talked about all the work that we're doing because this is what we do. And nobody tells us to do it. We have the voice to say it on our own. And so I'm gonna leave you with an African proverb, and it says, when two elephants are fighting, the grass is the only thing that's damaged in the middle of it. The two elephants that are fighting are America and Russia. And they tried to make us the grass and damage us in the middle of the fight that they had going on. But like the grass that grows right here, like the grass that grows wherever the African People's Socialist Party have shown up, you can't trample on it. When they showed up in St. Petersburg 50 years ago, it grew greener with the Aquaba Hall. It grew greener with the work that you all been doing. When we showed up in St. Louis, the grass grew greener with all the work, with the release of the people that's been in jail and they get released and they have stuff to do, with the restaurant, with the shops, it's grown greener. So even with this fight that we've been caught up in, we will continue to grow greener, and we will continue to win. So Uhuru means freedom, and we're free.
Well, I just want to say, right on, Mutaki. I join in everything I just heard, and I'm an attorney, criminal defense attorney from Chicago, Illinois. Been practicing for, I don't even want to say how long, but I try mostly cases in Chicago, Indiana, Ohio, Iowa. This is the first time I tried a case in Florida, but like Mutaki said, when I learned about this case and I was asked to get involved, it was an easy decision for me because this is what it's about. This is the fight that I wanted to take on when I went to law school. And I just want to say what an honor it's been to represent Penny Hess and to be part of this great team. And I'm going to turn it over to my associate, Angela Rainey.
I'm Angela Rainey and I represent Penny Hess. I'm very honored to represent Penny Hess. So I am from Illinois as well, and I've been practicing with Lynn. I'm probably because he got this case as well. I'm practicing with Lynn to review all the discovery. So I'm So yes, I had never heard of the African People's Socialist Party before I started working on this case. And when Lynn told me and when I got it and saw Russians, I was like, Lord, what did I get myself into? But you know, after listening to videos and reviewing things over the past year, I came to believe I really like the African People's Socialist Party. They have a really good point of view, and I'm incredibly honored to be able to work on this case. And congratulations to everybody.
Right. Right. And before then, I was a sympathizer of MOVE. I saw an injustice on a corner and I wanted to get involved in that. And behind seeing this injustice, I began speaking out and bringing other people in to see what it is that I was seeing. And as a result of that, I was beaten, thrown in jail, thrown out of jail. And but when you were speaking about how they come into your community, I was not a member of MOVE. I was not a supporter. I was a sympathizer, which I grew to be all the other things later. But they cordoned off our MOVE was in a position where they was exposing the government. He took a stand and said, we're not going anywhere. They came out with weapons against the government, which was inoperable, but to show people what it was that they feared, because this was our community and the community was in support. I was a person who did not know that the community supported MOVE because of the media. And I'm saying this so that people who are listening can understand how people who damned the MOVE organization and how I turned out to be one of the strongest supporters, how I became a MOVE member, and because of the injustices, because we were speaking out and, people were coming in to see MOVE who wasn't going anywhere, who took a firm stand. They cordoned off 8 blocks so that people could not get in, and said that that was behind the fact that MOVE, they was calling it off so MOVE couldn't get out. But still, people, when they put up a blockade, and I'm saying it's so important for community support. This trial is so important because it doesn't chase people away. It brings people in around the world. A trial where the FBI was caught lying and said that they did not know what was going on here. They wasn't a part of this conspiracy. And also, I'm asking people to search into your hearts, into your souls, and understand what is happening here. My heart bleeds for the wife of Yasa Telly, because I know how it is being around a mother, a wife,
and seeing them cry. You know, you see the strong parts during the day because we got to show that to you so that you can understand. But there's another part of us that you don't see, you don't understand. This sister here that's with a child in her belly still here on the front line because we don't know whether these motherfuckers would surround us right now and try to kill everybody in here. It's not like this is the first time people say, oh, that's observed. They won't do that. I can prove it. May 13th, 1985, May 20th, 1977, at the Uhuru House, not the first time, but this is the second, the third, the fourth time, and to bring you in here on charges like that, to go into your home and you're sitting down having breakfast. And all of a sudden, your world is turned upside down. But again, people got to understand, our world isn't turned upside down. It's the demon world who is turned upside down. And people always, that's how people are taught to look down on us. We are taught to look down on animals. I gotta say it. The snake is not the victim when these people do something wrong. That snake, the snake ain't never went and done the things that they done. The pig isn't responsible for any of this, and the black folks ain't responsible for polluting the air, polluting the water, polluting our food. These are the things that we're talking about, the necessities of life. We got to rise up and continue to teach. This is one of the most best platforms. One of the most one of the blackest platforms of what is going on here. I'm saying we are not without comrades. We are building comrades around the world. And the same energy that I was taught to put in the fight for freedom in the MOVE organization as Mama Pam, I will put that same energy and what I see here as right. And that's why I'm here. And I'm here not because I had the money to get here. It's because the Uhuru organization helped me get here. And people in New York, Sister Betty Davis, Brother Charles Barron, Ricardo Alvarez, Michelle Strongfield, people who seen the necessary that I be here on the front line, because I will put everything I have in me in order to make sure that the information that's necessary for us all that you bringing out. I seen tears. I saw the tears of John Africa. I saw the tears of my husband, and behind all these things. These are all strong men. It's nothing wrong with crying. And there's nothing wrong with, brother, I love you. I just found out that your brother Akbar's son, and whoa, what, and I don't like lawyers. People know that. And but you got a dream team here. There is some that I like, but you got a dream team here. I have nothing at all to say about these lawyers except you hurrah! You hurrah! You hurrah! And the day is Nana Peltier's birthday, and we're going to celebrate that here today, too. Free all political prisoners. You horror!
You can see, their passion for the struggle as well. And I think that we have to take this and take it out into the world as an incredibly important victory. I was talking to the lawyers earlier today about part of what this means, that we can go into the court and do the kinds of things that people have talked about, and take Uhuru to the courtroom, take colonialism to the courtroom, and take revolution. This is the revolutionary into the courtroom. I thought, that was extremely powerful. But what is really important to us also as a movement is the fact that our revolution had been crushed. Assassinations abounded. You're talking about free speech. What was Martin Luther King doing when they killed him? What does Martin Luther King guilty of? Talking. What was Malcolm X guilty of? Talking. The fact is that Panthers all over this country, who they painted this image. The only thing they did was talk. They went into the community, they organized people to do free breakfast, they organized people to do things around sickle cell anemia that the government wouldn't do. And the fact is that the only thing that, what does a slave have to talk about? I mean, that literally. And how in the hell can you assume that in a system of slavery that freedom is legal? How can freedom be legal under colonialism? It's impossible. And I'm not just saying this as an abstract concept, but the fact is, and I will repeat it again, is even when these Bill of Rights that we are talking about, the government has offended, even when they were ratified by the Congress in 1791, they weren't for us. We were, I even hate mentioning it sometimes because I have to do a duet with Comrade Pam to talk about it. I mean, it's nasty stuff that they've done to us and were doing to us then. The whole time we've been in this country, and we came at gunpoint. We are not the crew that came here looking for a better way of life. I don't want to hear that stuff. That's how we came in looking for a better way. We lost a better way of life as a consequence of being brought here at gunpoint. And that offends even, you know, sometimes people on the left because their identity is there with America, whether they're leftists or anything like that. But the fact is that America itself as a concept, and even Americans, they're a recent phenomenon in history. Recent in history, just 500 years ago, there was no such thing as an America. And this is, you know, part of the contradiction and problem that some people have to deal with. But the fact is that we had no rights. There was no something. And then even, you know, as recent as 1857, as you know, the Supreme Court of the United States, this guy likes to talk about the boss, you know, the 11th Circuit, the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court pushed forth this Supreme Court ruling and the Dred Scott case that said Black people had no rights that white people had to respect. That was the Supreme Court. This wasn't just some redneck someplace. There was the Supreme Court that said that. And it wasn't like another ruling came from the court that said, no, that's wrong. A civil war came. And the Civil War is something that changed the dynamics a bit in this country. 1865, we're supposed to be free, but it was 1964 before we even had a civil rights bill. If we were free, why the hell would we need a civil rights bill? If we were free, why would we need a Voting Rights Act? There's special things for us because we never were included. And only in those instances where struggle became sharp enough and ubiquitous enough, then the law would change. They would find a basis for changing the law or modifying it, or something to that effect. So with these laws, and then when things shut down, and then the laws get changed in the other direction. And I've seen that happen, the reaction, you know, creeping into this process. I just want to respect that and respect you, everybody who's come out, everybody who's participated all around the world. People are, yes, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Jesse. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here's the real direction and control. Go ahead.
Good job.
Uhuru. Wow, I don't even know. I don't have anything prepared to say, but I just want to say, long live Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Long live the African People's Socialist Party. I'm just incredibly proud and honored to be a part of this and to be under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, and the African People's Socialist Party, and so grateful for what the party has created for white people to be able to, as Chairwoman Penny said, to, you know, turn our backs on our own ruling class, take responsibility for this legacy of terror and violence that we have been complicit in or actively carried out against African and colonized peoples for hundreds of years, and join humanity. And that's what the U.S. government is attempting to criminalize. And thanks to the leadership of the chairman and the party, and thanks to the brilliance of the Uhuru 3 legal team, they were delivered a crushing defeat today in the federal court. And I also want to salute Chairwoman Penny Hess and and just express, how much I appreciate Chairwoman Penny's example, the model that she has set for me personally and for all members of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. What real, principled, unconditional, unwavering white solidarity with the African Revolution looks like, sounds like, acts like, no matter what they throw at us, no matter what attacks they try to make against the party, against the chairman, against this movement. So I just want to, reiterate my profound revolutionary love and salute to the chairman, the deputy chair, to Chairwoman Penny, and to Comrade Amanda, my wife.
We've been tamed.
I just want to salute Amanda for your incredible courage. Amanda didn't flinch for a second when she had 6 or 7 assault rifles pointed at her on that morning on July 29th, and she hasn't ever since. She's been there. She's been right there every single step of the way. So I love you, Amanda. I salute you. And I also want to shout out Chair Mwezi Odom. The Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa, Fight Back Coalition, every single member of that. Also, unindicted co-conspirator number 4 over here, Director Akile, who, just one quick thing about the elections and that cross-examination, which is, I think, in the top 5 moments of my life now, watching that. That agent got such a beat down. Am I allowed to? Okay. She got such a beat down that the prosecutor went up at the end and had a whole temper tantrum about, don't talk about that special agent that way. She was in the U.S. Air Force. How dare you? You can talk about me, but not her. He was like almost crying. And watching her, oh, by the way, the media, the Tampa Bay Times reported that day, okay, that the FBI's lies about the election interference were exposed. The Tampa Bay Times reported that election interference was alleged in the indictment, but it didn't end up being a major focus of the trial. That is an absolute lie. It was a major focus of the trial, and it was annihilated by Addie Griffin and our other attorneys. They didn't put in the Tampa Bay Times that they had the special agent up there, and Addie asked her, so there was no evidence of any election interference by the Russians or by these defendants. That's correct. Okay, so you knew that when the Department of Justice published a press release, and Mutaki brought this up too, with the headline saying that these defendants had engaged in election interference. Well, I don't write the Department of Justice press releases. Okay, but what about the indictment? Did you help write that? Yeah, I did help write that. So you knew you were lying when you consulted with, I'm just quoting Addie now, when you consulted with the prosecutors to write an indictment accusing them of election interference. And this woman had a meltdown on the stand, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. And I think the Tampa Bay Times should issue a retraction. It was a major focus of the trial, and it was a major focus of exposing the bullshit, as Leonard Goodman said, of this entire bogus case. So I want to salute our attorneys. It's been such an honor and actually quite a great revolutionary joy to work with them. They're amazing people. I love them. All the meetings we've had have been incredible. I know they're long, but they've been so incredible, and all the preparation. I just want to shout out Angela. Angela's a machine. I think she's been through about 2 million of those 2.5 million books that they talk about, and I don't want to sell you short. Maybe all of them. It's such an incredible team. And also shout out Tom Inskeep. He's not here, but he's also part of the legal team working with Addie, and he's been a pivotal part of this. And without going on and on, I also want to salute Chimaranga. Attorney Akbar mentioned that Chimaranga pulled him in to this case, and that's because Chimaranga was on the phones all day long, day and night, working to try to get this legal team put together after the raids took place, under the direction and control of Chairman O'Malley and the African People's Socialist Party. And I also want to shout out Lauren Reagan from the Civil Liberties Defense Center, who was really instrumental in helping us reach out to these attorneys and put this team together, and also the National Lawyers Guild of Chicago, who issued a powerful amicus brief in this case. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And I guess I'll just unite with Chairwoman Penny's very passionate call to the white people here and the white people who are listening to this, that we have to double down now. We've got to dig deep into building the Uhuru Solidarity movement to new heights. That trial, all those fake reports that they showed between Ainov and the so-called FSB handlers, none of that information was accurate, but they had a lot of good pictures of some amazing work that this movement has done, and the Solidarity movement under the party's leadership has done, building marches for reparations, building marches against genocide, building days in solidarity with African people, and we've got to do that 1,000-fold now. We have members in 130 cities. There shouldn't be one city in this country or anywhere else where there is not a branch of the Uhuru Solidarity movement, white solidarity with Black power. And the campaign that we ran in 2017 for mayor of St. Petersburg and District 6 City Council, that it has now been exposed before the eyes of the world, was not under the direction and control of the Russian government, but under the direction and control of Chairman O'Malley Shatella. Our slogan was then, our slogan is now, unity through reparation. Uhuru.
I just want to thank everybody and to say that there's still a tremendous amount of work to do coming off this. There's a sentencing that's going to happen at some juncture. We have a lot of work to do around that. We have to inform the world and help the world to understand this victory that has just occurred, that's been talked about, and referenced in terms of what it would mean to other people in terms of their willingness to fight back. The FBI brags about having a 90-some-odd% conviction rate, and that's because most people simply, feel like they can't go up against the government, and they make these plea bargains. In our instance, as Attorney Goodman said, to have made the plea bargain they talked about, suggested would have been like committing perjury, because we didn't do anything that they said we did. I cannot, overstate that. I think the jury was a good jury. Yeah. I really believe it was a good jury. And I thought it was important that we had made a determination already that the jury was not the enemy, right? The jury was not the enemy. We saw that clearly. We wanted that point to be understood among our own forces, that the jury was not the enemy. The jury did the best I think they could do under the circumstances. What the jury did, seeing what they saw, they disregarded the government's attempt to make us foreign agents. But more than that, with all this diverse group of people on that jury, they therefore had to express some kind of unity, solidarity with the struggle of Black people to be free. Right. That's what that verdict said. That verdict says that Black people have agency. They showed how we planned. They talked about our Central Committee meetings and the things that happened, et cetera, et cetera. And then they showed what we do around the world. And so that jury united with that. That jury united with that, and which is why they could not get a guilty verdict on which was the critical question, not because of the time that comes with the charge. The thing was the fact that we do not have agency, and that's the statement they're making about Black people. We have no agency, that somebody white has to tell us what to do and how to do it, et cetera. And so I thought that was extremely important. We had a lot of work to do. And we had incredible forces that did not get mentioned that much. Our media people, our media team. That's what the judge was talking about when he said these sketches and what have you were good, just made his nose too big. Our media team was extraordinary. We're talking and taking this all around the world. We were on a regular basis, ongoing, relentless of reporting from the balcony across the street from the courthouse. We this is our media team interviewing everybody who could be interviewed around this case, you know. So I thought that was important. I think it's also important because almost all the time when a case like this has come down, they drag out the snitches inside the organization to testify against them. And they couldn't find a single snitch, you know. In fact, the only snitch was one that was not with the organization. No, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, they couldn't find a single snitch. And I think that was really important. They couldn't find anybody in the community to come out. And that's important because what they did, they went in the Black community here in St. Petersburg, Florida, and in St. Louis, they talked to Black leaders, as they're characterized, to tell them what they were going to do and to get support for this attack that they made against us. They actually talked to them about that. And some subsequently talked to us about that. So, but they couldn't get anybody. We have to do the work that Attorney Akbar was talking about in terms of collecting, you know, as much obvious support in terms of letters and all of that's associated with the sentencing thing. But I think more than that, we got to use all this time between now and sentencing to help the people understand what this case is all about and to express that understanding through actions and organizations and things like that. Could include letter writing and all that stuff. But, you know, I think the masses of people, I think we're in a better place now to make that happen than we've ever been before, to have people all around the world to join. And I think we have to plan for a particular action, have masses of people come out and express solidarity in opposition to the assault on free speech. And we made a determination a long time ago that we were not going to try to wage a campaign in that courtroom or any place in the world to win the judge, to win somebody to become African internationalists or anti-colonialists. Our objective was to make them have to deal with free speech, the First Amendment, the rights that they say we are supposed to have, make them have to defend that. And that gives us the right to say everything that they show people. I thought that was really important to try to make that happen. So there's a lot of work that we have to have. There are going to be a lot of meetings happening here and internationally. And I think that we have to come out of here expressing victory. I really think that's a crucial thing that has to occur. Yeah, like I said, there were good juries, and we got good people and people, you know, who are motivated, you know, by a real need for justice. I mean, look at Pam here, you know, then bomb, you know, kill people, etc., and live all of that. She's here. And that's true of so many other people who are in this room today and who are participating in this discussion, you know, via, do I say social media? This constitutes social media? Okay, social media, okay. And there was an issue at one juncture. In fact, on the day I think that we made our final arguments, I had decided before getting there that I was going to testify. I called my attorney that morning. I said, send me in, coach. I said, I'm going to testify. She said, I know. She said, I know. And, but then I heard they were going to allow all this video and all this other stuff to be presented without witnesses. So, I mean, I can testify and not be cross-examined, right? So we can show all of this stuff, put all this stuff out, and I don't have to help confuse everything by not remembering what the hell happened on January 20th, 2017, right? So that was brilliant. That was splendid. And these cameras put that stuff together. And Angela, who had been looking, she's seen everything. She knows more about me than the FBI. I said, and that's scary. And you know, we put together this magnificent package, and I was able to testify. And through books, through videos, and through other kinds of stuff. And they got a chance to see us at work. They got a chance to see us as they came into our central committee meetings, and they saw the integrity that we have. They saw us have an opportunity to take a politic that does exist in our community and the African so-called nationalist movement that claims the land of the Indian people, that claims, we say unconditionally. This is not something that's being said necessarily for public consumption. We're saying this among ourselves. We have unconditional solidarity with the indigenous people here, et cetera. And the people, they saw that. The jury saw that and what have you. So no matter whatever else, they got a chance to see an organization based on integrity and that we work real hard and that we believe in what we say and what we do. So I think that was extremely important. And you're being there. So we got a lot of work to do. So we're going to set out doing that work, and you'll start hearing from us, giving some direction and control within the next few days. So let everybody know what has happened. Talk to people, and it's just extraordinary, an extraordinary success that we've just accomplished, and it's a new beginning. And so thank you very much, comrades. Uhuru. To see what?